This is a story about polyvictimization, but it's also a story about hope. This is Joseph and Marie. They're growing up in a cabin in the woods, and they're also growing up in a home where their father abuses their mother, and they witness domestic violence almost on the daily. And when their parents aren't entangled in a domestic violence episode, they can often be found in the kitchen, drinking alcohol, smoking pot, popping pills, and battling their own ghosts from their own complicated childhoods. Sometimes they start to argue again, and Joseph and Marie sit in their bedroom, listening. Their brains are developing, and they're growing neural pathways, and they're learning that this is what the world is like. As time passes, they experience medical neglect, they experience physical neglect, they experience physical abuse and sexual abuse, and eventually commercial sexual exploitation, because their mother needs to pay the rent and there's no money coming in. But she does have 2 children. At one point, the police intervene. However, they're not successful in gathering enough evidence to remove the children. Joseph goes to school, and he experiences high degrees of bullying because of his hygiene. The kids just make fun of him. So he drops out of school, and he starts to self-medicate, which leads to commercial sexual abuse material being produced. At one point, he's taken to a child advocacy center for an interview, and once again, they're not able to gather enough evidence to productively intervene. Marie and Joseph grow up in this type of setting again and again, and they're all each other has, until Marie meets Bob. Bob is very abusive, and he beats her up and sends her to the hospital. The police come to the hospital, and she makes a report, and she tells them everything that's been going on. Later that week, she talks to the prosecutor, and she also tells the prosecutor what happened. Unfortunately, there's some inconsistency in her narrative. She discloses her whole entire experience to one of her friends, hoping to find some support, but instead, the friend starts a rumor, and everybody starts to call her a slut. The prosecutor closes the case, and she immediately wants to talk to her brother Joseph. She calls her brother to let him know about it. He doesn't call her back. She calls him again. He doesn't call her back. She calls him again, worried, and later finds out that he was found dead in his bed. She's absolutely alone. She's so scared she doesn't know what to do. She misses her relationship with her twin, and she knows that she's going in the same direction if something doesn't change. She reaches out to 2 of her friends, and in her sadness, they rape her. She decides to try one more time to talk to law enforcement, and she meets Jared. Now, Jared is a police officer who's trauma-informed and understands polyvictimization. Jared knows that when somebody experiences victimization, that's the highest risk factor for experiencing victimization again, and then again, and then again. He builds a social network around her, and together as a community, as a multidisciplinary team, they build her back up. And she's actually able to find justice. For the first time in her life, she finds justice because of this kind and compassionate, trauma-informed and healing-centered team. It is totally possible to avoid re-victimization and to help clients transcend that trauma. It just takes a community of people willing to err on the side of compassion and let their hearts lead. Now Marie is an author, and she writes books about polyvictimization and how to help other people transcend trauma.